What's up, viewers, subscribers, and agents alike? It's your boy Enlightened Luciferian Prince coming at y'all once again. Welcome. Welcome. Thank all y'all for being here, viewing the channel, viewing the content, and for the most part, enlightening yourself daily amongst the struggles and the otherwise unbeknownst world of legalism, spirituality, and above all else, physicality on the same plane. If you're watching this video around children, please remove them from your immediate vicinity, as my videos are not for children. Also to mention, anything I say does not constitute legal advice. The sole information I provide is informational and educational purposes only. Now, it doesn't constitute anything anti-government. We, the people, in our natural state, are the government, irrespective of constructs, rules, regulations, statutes, and procedures. Simple as that, people. It is what it is. So, if you're new to this channel and you like the content, please make sure you subscribe, because I often do uploads quite frequently, and you don't want to be left outside the loop. Now, I noticed that my last video, when I was talking about the voluntariness of participation in a governmental constructive system, is the language of the matrix. When I said particularly that you are not a party to the United States Constitution, I want you to know exactly what I mean by that before I proceed, so you're not confused. You are not a party to the contract called the Constitution, because only parties that can be allowed in the actual promulgation of it are fictions. Your natural being is what the Constitution is protecting. Often, so many times, people place the legal suit on themselves and place themselves in a role as a fiction, and therefore you are now in the vessel form of a figment of legal imagination. Naturally, the organic Constitution is the one that is for we the people, not the Constitution that went into effect circa 1871 through the DC Organic Act. It's called the Organic Act for a reason. It was to totally dissolve the standing and the legitimacy of all natural people in regards to the usage of it. See, when you look at Cruden versus Neal, I believe in 1790, it talks about how man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by, all men is independent of all laws and institutions formed by his fellow man, right? Unless he's contracted. So in other words, that court case lets you know that consent is necessary to be bound by institutions and fictions. Now, I was just paraphrasing Cruden versus Neal, but you kind of get my drift. In reality, you're independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. You're not bound by any institution formed by your fellow man without your consent. Your consent is what is necessary. I basically beat this into a lot of my addresses to this reality. Yes, people, your consent is very powerful, and that's why they need you to fit the role of a fiction. In regards to this, the title of this video is called Lex Mercatoria. Okay, this is what we're operating under from DC Organic Act in 1871. It's all fiction. Most people don't realize this when they get a notice, and the notice says be here at this time. And then the people really don't even ask themselves, like, why do I have to be here? Then you'll ask another person, they'll say, oh, well, because if you're not here, then you'll go to jail, right? But at the same token, the letter, the summons, the correspondence is not addressed to you. Now, a lot of people say, well, if I don't go, well, I'll go to jail. Okay, such thing called special appearance. Whenever you actually say, in regards to law, special appearance, I'm not here because I want to be here, generally. like other people show up. They're not there because they're representing their natural capacity. They're there because they did what every other person did in society. And to be honest with you, as the elite call them, most dimwits do. So the dimwits appear before the tribunal and say, I'm this, I'm that. They get fined, they get feed, and they get imprisoned because they're taking the position of the surety. But this is only under the scheme of the law merchant. Let's talk about it before I proceed. Lex mercatoria, law for merchant law, is a body of commercial law that developed in medieval Europe to govern trade and commerce amongst merchants. Key features: it emerged between roughly the 11th and 17th century, right around the time that the Venetian bankers started, 11th century. This is time during the Crusades. So let's just keep it real, people. The Vatican, the Crusades, Knights Templar, you know what I'm saying, and all other, the Saracens and all other organizations that still function to this day are basically behind the promulgation of these laws. Real talk. So let's talk about it. It said 11th and 17th centuries as merchants needed a consistent, practical legal framework that transcended local laws and national borders. It was largely customary and self-regulatory, created by merchants themselves, though trade practices rather than imposed by any sovereign or state. So this is self-imposed law. It's basically like the same laws we go by today. It was administered through merchant courts, also called trade fairs and markets, which prioritize speed, flexibility, and commercial common sense over rigid procedural formality. It was transnational by nature, applying across different kingdoms and jurisdictions throughout Europe and beyond. Core principles it developed: enforcement of commercial contracts, rules on bills of exchange and credit instruments, partnership law, insolvency and bankruptcy concepts, agency relationships and trade, rules governing sea, commerce, maritime law. Same law that's practiced within all these Article 3 tribunals to this day. The concept has experienced a revival in contemporary international commercial law, sometimes called New Lex Mercatoria. It refers to the idea that international trade has again produced a body of customs or standard contract terms, arbitration practices, and principles, such as those from Unidroit or ICC Incoterms that operate largely independently of any single national legal system, particularly in international commerce and arbitration. In short, Lex Mercatoria represents the idea that commerce generates its own law, shaped by the practical needs of those who trade. So, when we're talking about how these secure transactions operate within a individual entity called tribunals or administrative courts, this is merchant law, practiced at the whim of administrators solely to enforce contract rights. Now, who is the individual who seeks to have some sort of remedy in regards to a contractual nexus? The state. The state itself is a fiction. So whenever you see in indictments and in notices and so forth, it says state versus, you must come to the realization. Okay, let's start here. In reality of how things are eloquently put, you have the sovereign language, then you have legalese, and then you have what's called the slave language, or what they call the layman's language, which is what they teach people in school, the public full system. Now, the public full system has taught many to take words transliterally. That means if it says person in Webster's, it means person in law. That's how you've been fooled. Because the sovereign knows exactly what the legalese states and the premise on which it is supposed to be applied to whomever it is addressed to. So whenever you see state of versus, or you see IRS letters, or you see, these are entities, period. An entity in and of itself cannot claim, as I said before, and I say it again, that you're filing something frivolous, because to file anything with the entity that is not recognized in any physical, tangible form is fraud in and of itself. That's a fact. And what people don't understand is that statutes, as codified and as legislatively decided upon, these are all decided upon by fictions, offices, and officers. These are all fictions. This is not the designation you were born with in your natural persona. And in propria personam, you must address this and say, well, that's not me. But you got to do it in a legal fashion. And I've said it time and time before of how to do this, because every time a presumption is said against you, you must object, you must rebut. The system does not understand rebuttal because it's far beyond the scope of their understanding. Yes, people, they got all the laws in the world, but when you use them in a certain form and fashion, harmonious as you should, and rebut all presumptions, it's not you. Period. So if something's not you and they allege to conform you to it, you must at all times object. Because the work of the law merchant is to always receive some sort of remedy or equity, which indeed many people are unawares of exists in a court case. Whenever a court case happens, there is seeking a judgment. But in order for anything to start, it must be in a claim format. Someone claiming you did. You ran a stop sign. It's just a claim. It's only given life until you argue whether you did or you didn't. You're supposed to object at all times. Because again, it's not you on the paper. I keep saying this because I don't want to constitute legal advice, but it's very simple. This is not legal advice. This is plain knowledge. If anybody addresses something to John Doe and your name is John A. Doe, would you answer to John Doe? No, you wouldn't. That doesn't belong to you. It has nothing to do with you. You see what I'm saying? Now, at certain times, yes, it is a fear-based mechanism that's used in court systems. Fear-based. Keep people blind. Keep people aloof. Keep monetizing off of your ignorance. That's why I always tell people to read and study. If it's too hard for you to do that, then you are going to be nothing more than stakes on the table by choice and consent because of your laziness. That is your problem. That's nobody else's. Okay? Because when you understand that you're not a party or nor you named in those laws, you and yours in law does not mean you. It's applying to the corporations in which it's speaking to. They're saying you did. You should be objecting. Now, if you harmed a person or their property, there's nothing you can do. You harm somebody's property or somebody's person, natural person that is, there's nothing you can do. You're going to pay for that. Yes. So, with that being said, everything else is negotiable. Everything else is terms and conditions, and it always lies to the root basis of the matter. Bluntly, it's about the enforcement of the contract. So now you have these entities all coming together at this one venue to conduct business. That's what it's about. And if you go in there and assume the position as a debtor, as an entity, as that person on that paper, they're going to stick it to you and you're going to become the surety and they're going to get the judgment against you and you are the off-ender now. You get the strike on your records. You get the individual, you get the individual ass end of the deal while they go straight to the bank with it. It's a fundamental law. If you default in commerce, then guess what? The individual who makes the claim has right to a judgment. I don't care what it is, people. Outside of criminal, everything you do is civil. And the reason why the court systems are set up like this is because they knew that people will be none the wiser on how to operate. I'm not saying that I particularly have always been in a position to interpret this stuff, because when I first started learning about it, it was necessary. I got tired of being that individual on the wrong side of the deal. If you're always tired of being on the wrong side of the deal, then you're going to do certain things to actuate your position in commerce and put yourself in that sovereign capacity. But I know that a lot of agents are always going to say that stuff doesn't work. They think they're above the law. First off, law was ascribed by the Most High. Let's get that straight. And anyone that passes any law in contrary to the law of the Creator works for the adversary. Period. I don't care if you wear a badge, you will wear a robe, or you wear the title of attorney, counselor, barrister, esquire. Y'all work for that one. Yes, you do. Your allegiance is to everything that the Most High has created for us. That's a grand indictment I say out of my mouth, and I speak that from my soul to you. Anyone that enforces anything that the Most High did not ordain works for Satan. Period. I don't care what they say. They're all in league together. Yes, people. Why do you think Christ said, settle with your adversary before you go to court? But he also gave you the key groundwork of what the adversary does. Steal, kill, and destroy. What does the system do? Same damn thing. So if we don't have the mind of Christ within us to understand that we got to be renewed to transform our minds to this, it's going to continuously work over us. This is the reality. This is the same reality that's been in play for eons. But because the populace of people have often been misadvantaged, disadvantaged, or otherwise totally barred from the higher knowledge, now today, why are people still in this stage of confusion? Why are people still in this stage of confusion? If these entities still keep their foot on your neck and basically keep you paying taxes and doing all that, why are you still doing something that should have been dispelled from the time of Christ? It's because the individuals who gave you the function of your life made you believe that it was necessary for you to suffer in order for you to live in this world. But Christ said, I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. So where do you get this abundance from? You get the abundance from going in alignment with the Most High's law, not man's law. Man's law is subservient to all other laws. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, and understanding, and love your neighbor as yourself. You'll never violate no law out here. Nope. All their laws are made into contrary of that. This is one of the reasons why I say the way I live my life is a prime example. I don't do nothing wrong to nobody, but I don't want nobody foreseeing anything or foreseeing anything from me on the premise of a false notion of legalism. Can't let that happen. But as long as I know I stay in line with my Creator's divine law, there's nothing going to happen to me. I'm straight. But I know that in this commercial world, everybody's fueled by gain. Even the system is gain off of human suffering. Was I in a bad situation in prison before? Yes. It wasn't pleasant. It was literally like hell on earth. But I vowed to myself to never put myself in that position again because it was my ignorance years ago in regards to contracts. Not knowing that all contracts are voluntary. Now some, I already mentioned, with no exception to that. It's an exception for that, I should say. Excuse me. But yeah, it's to come to the realization. As long as we live in this commercial world, we're going to have to deal with it. But in order for you to deal with it adequately, properly, and totally with no mess, the path of redemption is available to all those who are willing to actually break the chains of the cycle of indoctrination. But if you're not willing to break those chains, you keep second guessing yourself, and it's not for you. It's not for you because the Creator is not an author of confusion. Simple as that. The Most High is not an author of confusion. If you are confused in your own capacity, then that's something you got to deal with. If you keep thinking that the system is right, and you keep getting involved in these contracts, and you keep finding yourself further and further back, that's not the Most High's will working over your life. That's not the Most High's will working over your life. That's a grand indictment to most people who still dragging their ass. You are worth far more than what paper could ever ascribe. That's why when I first started my channel, everybody was talking about going on fidelityinvestments.com and try to find out how many million. You ain't touching none of that. And I've never on my channel even told you that was a possibility. The only possibility that's in your control that you could create is reanimate yourself into the position that the Most High basically made you and step outside of what you didn't create. No, you did not sign the original Social Security application. No, you did not sign no birth certificate. No, you did not sign the power of attorney to relinquish your power of attorney. No, you didn't. But if you're watching this video and you're an adult, then this is what you need to do for your own embetterment. This ain't no cult, no lead, no follow, no none of that. If you're tired, like you should be, and you're tired of being made sport of in your personal life, get on it. Because if you align with the purpose of the Most High, nothing's gonna bother you. But if you sitting here trying to live in the world, live of the world, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work. And that's in less than 21 minutes. Thanks, people. Lex Mercator is all about the operation of secure transactions underneath the guise of the law merchant. The judge sit up there, I don't care if it's child support court, how much you make, how much you get on taxes last year. What the fuck? Who the hell made this person an accountant? You, because you sit there and tell them, oh yeah, well, I make such and such. Oh yeah, your information is what makes them draw up that motherfucking judgment against you. Your own mouth. The spirit of your breath, your ruach, made a contract that you now have to fulfill because you said something. Or when you fill out applications, you put all that information, you're doing it yourself. You must realize what you're doing here, and it has an effect out there too. But I digress. It's up for every man or woman to understand. I don't care about age, race, ethnicity, origin, upbringing, none of that shit. Because when it comes down to this commercial world, there are only debtors and creditors. Which one are you? Which one are you? I ain't talking about in your mind. I'm talking about what you can produce in the world. So the world will stop treating you like a debtor. That part, you can say it all day long. But if you don't have it in the mechanics of your life, in every damn thing you do, that you must treat like a business, you are the debtor. And they're going to go ahead and make sure they exact that surety bond on your ass so they can make sure it can payment bond, bid bond, and all of that. Straight to performance. I'm just letting y'all know. Like I said, I'm pure of heart in this concept, and I've been ride or die telling people, this is it. Can't emphasize it enough. So many people wake up in the morning. What it is? What is this? What is this? If you walk a line to the grace and the Most High has given you, to wake up and be like, you know what? Something got to change today. Am I saying it's going to change overnight? No. This is a system that you have to get yourself in gear with and apply it to your life. Other than that, you're going to be in la-la land like everybody else in society. Arguing thoughts, beliefs, and opinions. Never getting shit done. Always worried about what's this, what, fuck that, man. The Most High gave you a life. It's your life to live. It is your life. It is not a life that's supposed to be reincarnated to keep this machine rolling. You got one shot to get it right. Reincarnation is for those who don't get it. It's very real. But when you get it, you step. You know what I'm saying? This universe is too big for you to be sitting up here in this fucking fictitious program. That's facts. Now, if you want to stay here, cut my video off, act like I ain't said shit, and go ahead and scroll back on your smartphone. Act like I ain't said a damn thing. But if you about this shit, email me. Peace, light, love. 10-4, I'm out. Agents, man, fuck you. Stay dangerous.